Welcome back to the Neutral Zone. Today we're going to be looking at the Florida State Seminoles as we continue along with their preview series. After a 2-10 season and struggling in the ACC, can Mike Norvell turn the ship around after hitting the recruiting trail and the transfer portal hard this season? Let us know in the comment section what you guys think. And as always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys like and subscribe to join the nation. Let's get right into the video. Those of you guys who know me knows I'm not a big Florida State fan. Obviously, being a Clemson fan, and growing up between 2010 to 2020 into my early adulthood, Florida State was really putting BTA on Clemson. Jameis Winston and company, obviously winning a national championship, coming to Clemson and stomping us, left a sour taste in my mouth. I actually dislike Florida State more than I like South Carolina, but that's another conversation. But Dad, I want to know, kind of looking at this screen, you have a 1.5% chance to win the ACC based on ESPN. What is your thoughts on that for Florida State?
Man, before I even get to that, let me say, I am on the move. So obviously my lighting doesn't look great. So no dark skin jokes. All right. When I get everything back, we'll get the lighting back good and everything will be good. Now, the 1.5% chance is really disrespectful to the legacy of Florida State. Obviously, a horrible year last year. As you see on the screen, only 2 wins. But I don't think that's indicative of who Florida State is as a program. So many things went wrong last year. The DJU, and we can continue to talk about the things that did not go right. I don't think that's who this team is. I think this year is going to be much better. I think they're going to be a halfway decent team. My big concern is the talent they brought over. A lot of it was from the portal. So when you talk about bringing players over from the portal, it's about chemistry. But I like Deuce Robinson coming over from USC, Squirrel White coming over from Tennessee. As receivers, those are 2 very good receivers. Obviously, we're going to talk about Castellanos, the quarterback that beat them, dual threat guy, really seemed to have a little edge to him, and I like the way he plays. I got to give a shout out to Deontay McCray on the defensive line, defensive tackle. He is the son of a good friend of mine, Greg McCray. So much love to him, and I'm always rooting for Deontay out of Jacksonville. Again, 1.5% is completely disrespectful. I'm not necessarily ready to say they're the ACC favorite or they're back on that pedestal, as you mentioned, that Florida State was in when they were given teams in the ACC BTA. But I think this is going to be a very talented team, and I would not at all be shocked if they were able to win the ACC. What's your thoughts, Stephen?
So again, I want to reiterate, I do not like this team. I do not like this program, but they went 2-10 last year, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't happy they went 2-10. But this is going to be a really good season for them this year. All jokes aside, I think this team is going to be really good. You lose obviously a lot on the defensive front with Patrick Payton and Marvin Jones, as well as Joshua Farmer. Malik Benson transferred to Oregon, but he really didn't do much last year. The offense was lackadaisical, as a whole. Lawrence Toafili was on this team, which feels like forever. He's now with the Jets, so he's gone. But you bring back Roydell Williams, who also, I feel like he's been in college ball forever. He was with Alabama and transferred over. I believe he got a medical redshirt last season. He only played 4 games, so he's a redshirt senior now. So he's a very talented running back, a veteran running back that's going to help out Thomas Castellanos from Boston College. And then, like you said, you bring over Deuce Robinson and Squirrel White. I really like Squirrel White. I think he's a kind of a gadget wide receiver. I think he can pop off in this offense. And then Deuce Robinson's obviously a converted tight end, 6'6", 230 or something crazy like that. Yes. So I think he'll be really solid as well. I just think we saw a very, very bad showing last year for this program, and I think it was a fluke. I don't think this is a 2-10 type team. I think Mike Norvell is a very good coach. I think he got a lot of the blunt end of what happened last season. But at the end of the day, there was a lot of moving pieces. The offense was really bad. Obviously, DJU did not look good. I think a lot of it came down to play calling as well. So I'm not going to put all of the slack on him because even when they made the quarterback change, they still lost games. So they were still losing games. And I understand by that point in the season, your season's kind of botched at that point. It's kind of hard to get up and play when you're 1-5 or something crazy like that. So I understand it. But like I said, I think this is going to be a very good team this year. I think it's going to be very good from outside perspective standards. I think some Florida State fans think going, 10-2 or 9-3 or 8-4 is a bad season, and I would feel the same way for my team.
Yeah,
but I think coming off of a 2-10 season, if you're able to get to a respectable bowl game, that is very solid, especially when you look at the amount of players you're replacing through the portal. This is a Colorado type replacement.
Yeah.
When you look at the offensive side of the ball, I think 6 or 7 of the starters that are projected right now are from the portal. On the defense, it's the same story. So a lot of moving pieces. And like you said initially, I think team chemistry is going to be a major factor. But with chemistry, I think comes experience as well. A lot of these players that they brought over have experience at the collegiate level. I know Roydell Williams was a transfer this past offseason from Alabama. And like I said, he's 22, 23 years old now. Squirrel White as well. He's older. I think Castellanos is not super old, but he was a starting quarterback in the ACC last year, kind of had his breakout season for the Eagles in Boston College. So I expect him to be really good. I think and I'm not going to say he's the same type of player as Jordan Travis, but he gives me the same vibe as far as being able to be a dual threat, being able to make plays with his legs. And I don't think he's the same talent as him. So don't get me wrong with that, but I think he's more explosive than Jordan Travis was as far as his legs go. He may not have the same type of arm talent, but if you can kind of cater the offense to his strengths with bringing these talented guys, as well as a veteran running back in Roydell Williams, I think it's a recipe for success. But kind of get into the prediction. We have the same exact prediction. The only difference is we have the losses split up. I think they lose at NC State, but they beat Miami. Those of you guys who watched the Miami video, you guys saw that I did pick Florida State to win that game at home in Tallahassee. But we have the same floor, same ceiling, and same prediction. What was your thought process in kind of coming up with it?
No, and I got to mention this. They bring Gus Malzahn over. Obviously, the old head coach of Auburn and UFC. I think they're gonna play much better. I don't think I'm ready to say they're able to box with the heavyweights in the ACC. Now, I know normally Florida State is the heavyweight, but they got knocked down a couple of notches last year. I don't think they're ready to play with the Clemsons next year. Alabama, that game being the first game, again, no matter what, that Alabama team is coming with more chemistry. Yes, they have a new starting quarterback, but that starting quarterback, whoever it is, whether it's Ty Simpson or somebody else, was probably on their roster last year, unless Keelan Russell, I think that's how you say his name, unless he gets the starting job. Most of that team is intact and had been there. That Miami team, again, I'm not super high on them, but I got them at about the same talent level as this Florida State team. What really kind of changed my mind in terms of that game was I think you got a Carson Beck who, again, needs to play well to reestablish his NFL draft status. And I think they are neck and neck in talent. And I have to take Carson Beck over old Tommy C. The Clemson game was an easy one for me. And again, I told you guys, I feel really good about Florida this upcoming year. So the other games that are my other games in the floor are probably the same as yours, because the NC State game is a game I went back and forth on. But I think Florida State, by that point in time, if this thing does take off, the talent is there. Again, we mentioned with Deuce Robinson, with Squirrel White. And later in the season, that chemistry should have meshed a little bit. So that's where I give them the nod over NC State.
And I do want to say, I don't think a 2-loss ACC record gets you in the ACC championship game, but you'll be damn near close. And I think 8-4, you're probably right inside the top 25, if not right outside the top 25. And again, I think that is a very good season when you're coming off of a 2-10 season. You're talking about a +6 in terms of your win-loss count. So I think this is big for them. I think you have to have a big season. You can't afford to go 5-7 this year or 4-8. Because then I think at that point Mike Norvell's job is going to be in question. So this is just not a situation you want to be in if you're Mike Norvell. But like I said, I'm a fan of him. I won't say that. I'm not a fan of Mike Norvell. Let me retract that statement before that comes back to bite me. I'm not a fan of Mike Norvell. I would say I'm high on him as a coach. I think he's a very good coach based on what we saw with the Jordan Travis year, as well as the year even before that. I think he's done enough to get another crack at it. But I think this is the situation where he needs to take advantage of, the veteran leadership he has on this roster, whether they're transfer portal players or current players on the roster. He has to kind of lean into those guys and do his best to kind of right the ship because 2-10 obviously is unacceptable for any Power 5 team, let alone a team that won a national championship 10 seasons ago and a team that was fighting for a playoff spot 2 seasons ago.
Let me say, this team is built like a team with a coach that's on the hot seat. If you look, we talk about Squirrel White. We really go down that offensive line. 4 transfers projected starters that literally are transfers in on that offensive line. All 4 of them seniors. Castellanos, a senior. Squirrel White, a senior. So you brought in a bunch of seniors. My concern is not necessarily this year, but I feel like you're playing like I'm on the hot seat with no room for growth for the young guys because you just brought in a bunch of transfer seniors looking for their last shot, and it's going to stunt the growth of this program. So you may have a quick blip, and then the question is what happens next year with all these players that are coming over out of the transfer portal that, like I said, are not going to be at Florida State for 2 and 3 years, and most of them can't be at Florida State for 2 and 3 years.
Yeah, I agree. And I do want to say, because I know it's going to happen, I say this every video, Florida State fans are going to come in and they're going to tell us we don't know what we're talking about because we didn't name a 3rd string corner or a 2nd string running back that may be on the team. Now, again, we're not fans of Florida State. We're covering what everybody else is looking at from the outside lens. So obviously, if you're a fan of your team, you're going to know more than me or my dad is going to know. We're obviously looking at it from an outside perspective. We're covering 50 teams before the season begins. But with that being said, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Tomorrow, we're going to be dropping another video. It's going to be the USC Trojans. And then after that, we're going to do the Oregon Ducks. So make sure you guys, like I said,
skin jokes.
Make sure you guys hit that notification bell, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.
Peace.